Okay, today I want to start my first little video clip that I probably will try to start make in the future. Now I want to start with just one photo that I really like from our trip in Japan earlier this year. Now, this is the original capture, so everything is set to reset to the original setting on the camera. So this is straight out of the camera. It was pretty good straight out of the camera because the lighting was really nice. You can see it's backlit with this setting sun. And I was just there because I really liked the look of this structure, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna spend some time here and wait for something to happen. And I think I was there for about 10 minutes or so, and this father and son just walked by, and I thought, yes, this is my subject. So, um, and this is the sort of the end result that I had imagined in my head at the time. So how did I get to this? So starting from here, usually when I'm editing my photos, I probably start with a little bit of correction. So I looked at my histogram and I know there's overexposed and unexposed areas, and you can't really avoid this issue, especially when in this type of setting. But fortunately, camera these days are good enough to sort of help us recover most of the details. I'm not gonna worry about the black here because it's just not going to be um, not important anyway, so they're not what I'm looking for. Now you can see there's a lot of leading lines that I hope that is leading to our subject. So what I would usually do is to crop it so that we are more um, we can see more of the subject, less of the distracting elements. By distracting elements, I mean these buildings on the top, which is not serving the purpose uh, as well as I would love them to. So, but keep in mind that when cropping, you still want to have the important elements in there. In this in this particular composition, I really want to keep these lines. So hopefully, once edited, we can get them to look to lead to our subject. So, and I think it's slightly at an angle that, so I just corrected that just slightly. Okay, cool. So this is more of the composition that the framing that I liked. Now, to get rid of the unwanted highlight on the top, because our eyes tend to go to the brightest part of the image. So if I darken the parts that we don't need our eyes to go to, it will bring us back to our subject. Now, we are still distracted by all this other lights on the side, especially if we turn into black and white, we can really see the highlights that are present. So what I usually do, so I can say that am not the best person to do all the little fine dodging and burning, so I usually just grab my gradient tool, and then I just dial down the highlights. Now, you don't want to do it too much, so you can still have a bit of interest around a place. That's what I believe. Okay, so this is the gradient tool. Yep, graduate filter. Okay, now, so we want to come back and really work on the subject here. I usually use the brush tool, bring up the highlight or shadow, I don't know, just play with it a little bit so we get a better focus. Sometimes even darken the black. Okay, so now we want to soften or lower the intensity of the highlight from there too, so it's not overpowering. Keep doing the top ones. Now it's kind of flat, so we can give it a bit of clarity. Now it makes the photo pop a little, but you don't want to overdo it, because if you zoom in to have a look, okay, let's get back to the original state, and then we increase that. If we overdo it, it gets too much, right? It's not what we wanted. We don't want to overdo anything. Now, I would personally use the brush tool to give the subject a little bit more, even maybe a bit more texture. Texture is the finer details. Okay, now, there we go. I really don't like the highlight down here, because I think it's just a little bit too strong, so I would brush it out. So just dial down the highlight or the white slightly, so it's not too much. There we go. So comparing that with what I did before, that's kind of similar. What I did before was even stronger shadow, black, or heavier shadow. Yeah, and sometimes I bring up the orange, because that's usually the skin tone. So we have slightly better skin, a brighter skin. Asians like that. I'm Asian, so that's just how we roll. I'll see if I can actually bring this reflected hot spots down a little bit more. There we go. So here we have it. The finished look. Actually, I might need to bring these lines down even more, so I do it, change the highlight and the white, so we still have the lines, the details and everything there, but it's just not as strong as before. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Sometimes some people want to do it with a bit of vignette. It might work with this photo as well, just a touch. Give it a little bit more focus, so we are actually focusing even more on our subject. Finally, I just couldn't resist but to give it a little bit more clarity and maybe even a bit more highlight. to make it pop even more. Fantastic. If you like to give you a bit more artistic look, I think a little bit of grain, make it look more raw, more. There you go. I hope you enjoy what I just did, and hopefully we all learn something from this experience. Cheers, hope you like it. Bye.